guys, welcome back to my channel, Amber Eats Books. I'm Amber and this is my week 3 reading wrap up. I had such a better reading week than last week. I read so many books that I enjoyed, that I thought were different than other books that I've read before, and I'm just really excited to tell you about them. So let's get into it. The first book I read this week was Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is described as Cinderella with a science fiction twist. I really enjoyed this book. I didn't think that I was going to like it. In fact, I kind of kept brushing my daughter off and telling her, oh, I don't know if I'll read it, I'm not sure, maybe. But then I kept hearing such good things about it once I discovered BookTube a few months ago that I just decided, you know what, I have to sit down, I have to read this. And I'm so glad that I did. I really enjoyed this story. The science fiction elements were probably my favorite part. I don't know why I think I don't like science fiction, because I love science fiction movies. I just never see myself as a science fiction reader. However, every time I read a book that's either has science fiction elements or is completely science fiction, I end up loving it. So I have to get that out of my head. I don't know why I keep thinking that, because this was really fun. I rated it 4 stars. I did take off a star because it did have some of those typical YA kind of scenes in it, where I think I've just been on such a YA like overload since I discovered BookTube, and I've just been like devouring YA book after YA book that I'm starting to get a little sick of some of the tropey type things that happen in YA. But the few scenes that were in here weren't anything that would deter me from continuing on with the series or not liking this book. So it was a solid 4 stars. The next book that I read this week was Finders Keepers by Stephen King. I love Stephen King. I love him. He's my favorite writer, and reading this book just cements that for me. I've read so many books this past year that every time I crack open a Stephen King book, I just always feel like I'm at home. I just feel like his writing is as easy to read as breathing is to me. It just flows. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is about his writing style that just makes me feel that way, but I just know the feeling I have when I read his books. This book was a very solid 4 stars. I did take off 1 star, however, because he did not reintroduce the characters from the first book until 157 pages into this story. So this whole time I'm reading, I'm enjoying the story that he's writing about these new characters, but I'm just thinking, okay, where is Bill Hodges? Where is he? I don't see him. Why is he not in the story yet? When he did introduce him too, it was just not the same as the first book. I just felt like this was a good crime novel sort of standalone book. However, the villain from the first book and he's not a detective, he's a retired detective, but the main character, Bill Hodges, from the first book, they just weren't as striking as they were in Mr. Mercedes. However, I still really enjoyed the story, and I could see that this is really setting up for what I hope is a great conclusion to the trilogy and End of Watch. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. I'll probably read it next month, I'm hoping. My friend and I are actually reading these together, so I think September is the month that we will read End of Watch, and I will let you know how that is. But overall, just a great crime story. If you guys really like crime fiction, I would recommend picking it up, though it does have some quite graphic scenes. So I would just be mindful of that, because Stephen King is the king of horror, so he does go right into those, like I said, nitty-gritty areas of human behavior and ways of thinking and things like that. So anyway, I highly recommend this, and I really hope End of Watch is as good as I'm thinking it will be. The third book I read this week was Unhooked by Lisa Maxwell. This is a story about Gwendolyn, who lives with her mother. They have moved around so many times in her life because her mother thinks these monsters are chasing them, hunting them. Her and her best friend don't believe her mother. They think she's kind of crazy until they're actually kidnapped by these monsters and brought to a place called Neverland. Though this Neverland is nothing like what the stories that she read as a child have told her Neverland would be like. I love this book. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was helpful that I had just read Peter Pan last week, and it really added to the story. It was fresh in my mind, so I could see the similarities, and I could also see the differences and the unique take that this author took with the story. I love the writing style. It was so flowing. It was just fantastic to read. The characters were great. I loved the heroes. I was invested in the villain. I actually at times was rooting for the villain, and then other times was yelling at the villain. So it was just a really fun story. I do wish we got a little more background of Gwendolyn's character, like her childhood. I just wish there was a little bit more of that in here, but otherwise it was fantastic. Like I said, 4 out of 5 stars. I can't wait to read other books by this author. The next book I read this week was Absent by Katie Williams. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 3.75 out of 5 stars. It was solid. It was a good little story. It's about this girl named Paige who accidentally falls off the roof of her high school. She wakes up as a ghost and realizes that she can't leave the property. She hears her friends and other people talking about her death. And this one girl kind of says maybe it wasn't an accident, and she will not stand for that. So she tries to find a way in which she can communicate so she can get that rumor dispelled. And it's just a really good little book. I didn't see some of the twists that were coming in it. It's a very short story. It's only 179 pages. So I really didn't think it would cram as much into it as it did, but it didn't feel rushed. It actually was a very relaxed book. It felt organic. It just felt like it was coming from somewhere, even though the premise of it seems a little ridiculous at times. I mean, it worked for me. I don't know. I really liked it. And I would be interested in reading more by Katie Williams. The last book I read this week was Uprooted by Naomi Novik. And I used read as a relative term because I really didn't read this book. I got about 35 pages in and I DNF'd it. I just did not enjoy the writing style at all. It was so bare bones and just not my cup of tea that I decided I just wouldn't finish it. I have so many other books that I really want to get to that reading a book that I knew I wasn't going to enjoy was just not on my list of things to do. So I'll just tell you my experience with the few chapters that I read. The characters were sort of flat and one-dimensional. Obviously, I didn't get through the entire book, so I don't know how they were developed or if they were developed. But from what I saw of them, I just didn't like them. I did not like the pacing of the book. It seemed like it was very fast-paced. Things that could have taken a little bit more time and had a little bit more build-up, you were just bam, 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 right into them, into those things that were happening. So just wasn't for me. Probably won't pick up another book by this author anytime soon, but I don't know. I had really high hopes. I really wished that it was better because I was really looking forward to reading it, but you win some, you lose some. So those are all the books that I have for my week 3 wrap up. I really enjoyed them. Besides Uprooted, I really didn't enjoy that one, but the rest of them I all really enjoyed. I hope that this trend of good books continues through till next week. If you guys have read any of these books, please let me know your opinions, whether they're the same as mine, whether they differ from mine. I'd really like to know what you guys thought of them. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more bookish videos, please subscribe to my channel. And as always, happy reading.